David Smith here with another flipped classroom math video. A few tips before we get started. Remember, you can always pause the video if you need to catch up with your notes. You can also speed up or slow down the playback if that helps. Finally, you can turn on the captions so you can see my words going by at the bottom of your screen. Woohoo! Oh my God, I just hit 500 subscribers this week. A big thank you to all of you out there, some of you who've been watching my videos for 3 years. I so appreciate your attention, your comments, your likes, and thank you so much for subscribing. You guys really rock. Today we're going to talk about choosing lines of regression. And it's interesting because there are situations where we cannot tell which is the independent variable. So we have two variables, and we might want to predict one using the other, or the other way with the second one predict the first one. And you'll remember from our previous work in this chapter that you really have to go from independent to dependent variable. You can't go the other way. So now we're going to look at a situation where we go either way. So sometimes it's difficult to tell which is which. And here's an example: English and TOK. TOK is IB's philosophy class called Theory of Knowledge. So it's a good question. Which grade depends on the other one? And perhaps you want to predict English based on TOK or TOK based on English. And it's interesting to know, and we'll learn in this section here, that they work differently. They have different regression lines. So let's take a look at how that works. All right, here's our data for our scenario. And what we're doing is we're comparing scores on tests for our two subjects, English and TOK. And you can see here, this is 12 different students. This student got a 2 on English and a 4 on TOK, 3 and 5, and so on, all the way down the list. And you can see it's organized in ascending order. So that kind of shows, I mean, if you snoop this data, you can see that there's definitely a correlation. As English scores increase, so do TOK. Or you could say it the other way: as TOK scores increase, so does English. So that's the flipping of the independent versus dependent variable. And we really can't tell which depends on the other, so we need to look at two regression lines to answer all the possible prediction type questions we might want to do using this data. So first step, you've done this before: find the y on x regression line. So this is the standard thing. We're assuming that the English is the independent variable and TOK is the dependent variable. So go ahead, pause the video, pull out your calculator, and do that math. Here's what I get. I get y equals 0.764x plus 1.92. So that is our regression line pulled from our calculator. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to create a regression equation for x on y. So that would be assuming that TOK is the independent variable and English is the dependent variable. Now, the nice thing about your calculator is you don't have to re-enter the data. It's already in there. So when you go through the steps to create your regression line, all you need to do is switch the lists. So on the TA84, you just switch L1 with L2, and then on the TI Inspire, you just change whatever you named your list, whatever letter or name you gave it. Then in the screen where you select your list, you just reverse that selection and then run your regression and come back. And let's see how you did. All right, a successful trip to your calculator should reveal this equation. And notice how I've switched my x and y's because now I'm using y as the independent variable, and I get x equals 0.902y plus 0.139. Now, you can put these two equations on a plot. You can scatter plot this data and put these two equations on there, and you're going to see we've got two different regression lines. They have different slopes and different intercepts. And all that means is that if we want to predict English based on TOK, we use this equation. If we want to predict TOK based on English, we use that equation. In fact, that's what we're going to do next. All right, two problems, and I'll let you go. So, two prompts here. I want you to pause the video and do both of these and then come back. So the first one is predict the English score based on a TOK score of 8. So this student got a TOK score of 8, and you want to predict their English score. And then this one is going the other way. It's predicted TOK score based on an English score of 6. So pause the video and do both of those calculations. All right, so our first one, I switched these up on you. Okay, so this one is predicting English based on TOK. So that was this function. This is with the x equals something y. So that was the making TOK the independent variable. So I did my plug-in step and I got my, my predicted English score based on TOK, 7.36. And then this one had sort of our original setup with English being the independent variable and using that to predict the TOK score. So I used this equation for that, did my plug-in, did my math, I got 6.5. Now that you've watched the video, take a moment and write down any questions that you might have so you can bring them to our next class. Remember that you can always watch the video again and perfect your notes. Finally, if you enjoyed the video, please click the like button down below. And if you'd like to help me grow my YouTube channel, please click subscribe.